Have you ever wanted to get into the Ivy League? Have you dreamed of the successful life you'd have if you did so? Have you watched hundreds of thousands of videos trying to find an answer to the age-old question of, how do I get in? And never found one? Well, sit back, relax, and take it all in. Because you're about to learn how to do just that here today. But before we get there, let me tell you a quick story. It all started the spring of my senior year of high school. On a cool spring day in late March of 2018, I awaited the results of my Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale applications. Seconds turned to minutes as time slowed down to a near stop in the hours leading up to the dreaded application release time. After what felt like 5 years later, it was finally 7 p.m. I took a breath and opened up the application portal. My heart was racing as I anticipated the result. Would it be an acceptance? A rejection? What would the outcome of this decision be? The page loaded. Time slowed to a stop. I took another breath and clicked on the decision portion of the portal. Everything seemed to move in slow motion as this page loaded. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4. It finally loaded. And almost immediately I saw a word that caught my eye and ultimately changed my life forever. Congratulations. I got into Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale in the spring of my senior year of high school. And if you're interested in the full story, head over to this video to learn some more about that. But in a nutshell, after I got into Princeton, I started working with a number of students and parents to help them get in as well. As I worked with and coached more students, I started picking up on a particular trend. The students I worked with who ended up going to Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, my friends at the universities, and other people I knew who were students there, tended to have some things in common. Curious, I looked into this further, researching different YouTube videos to see if my observations were on the right track. And just like I thought, people who were accepted into certain schools like Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale tended to fall into certain archetypes, certain groups, and those who actually made it into the universities needed to have similarities in their application and how they went about getting into these type of schools. And that leads me right into this. If you haven't watched this video here, I suggest you pause here, watch it, then come back to this video to get a background on the different types of schools and the types of students each school tends to accept. However, as a quick refresher, the different school types are Humanities Havens, schools that specialize in the humanities and tend to accept students interested in those fields. Technology Towns, schools who specialize in the STEM fields and tend to accept students who are interested in STEM as well. Political Science Paradises, schools who specialize in politics and the social sciences and tend to accept students who are interested in those fields. And finally, Business Boroughs, schools who are dedicated to their business schools and accept students interested in business and the finance spaces. Similar to that on the student side, the 5 common student types are the STEM Scholar, a student whose resume is peppered and colored by their passion for and participation in the STEM fields. The Humanities Intellectual, a student whose extracurricular experience in high school is dominated by their experiences in the humanities. The Sharp Social Scientist, a student obsessed with the social sciences and spends a lot of their time exploring that passion. The Professional Polymath, the student who's interested in a number of different subjects and extracurriculars and does them all very well. And then finally, the Athletic Academic, an athletic student whose resume is mostly composed of their athletic achievements and accomplishments. Now, Stanford is a technology town, so the advice given in this video will be the best advice any student should apply if they hope to get into not only Stanford, but similar schools like it as well. With all that being said, here's the strategy and advice each type of student can use to get into a school like Stanford. We're going to look at what it takes for each archetype of student to get into a school like Stanford and what they would need to do each year, starting from their freshman year going all the way to the winter of their senior year to have the best chance of getting in. Athletic academics have a completely different high school path for getting into school like Stanford as compared with most other students. To start, they on average get a 1.71 multiplier on their odds of making it to the school, which increases their odds from 5.2% to 8.9%. This is a fairly significant increase in terms of their odds of making it to the school. In other words, their odds jump from about a 1 in 19 chance of making it to Stanford to now about a 1 in 11 chance of making it into the school. However, unlike most other students, you have quite a bit to consider when applying to a school like Stanford. An athletic academics path is a simple, yet difficult way of making it into the school. Now let's take a look at what a person needs to do, starting from their freshman year, to be that 1% out of 11 who does in fact make it into Stanford. The cool summer breeze washes over your skin as you count down your final days of summer. It's the summer before your freshman year, and while you don't want summer to end, you're excited to begin high school and start something new. You likely either just finished the season for a sport you played in middle school, or just starting the season for a sport you're about to do this fall. For you, you understand that these next 3 years are up to you, and how you perform in these next 3 years are what will make or break your future. As mentioned before when discussing sharp social scientists and humanities intellectuals, freshman year is when the college race truly begins. The actions you take your freshman year will compound and give you a much better chance of getting to the school of your dreams, or make those dreams much, much harder to achieve. For athletic academics, their strategy is a little bit different. Since they don't need to rely on academics as much as other students, we're not going to focus on it as much, as they can be a mix of any other archetype of student they want to be and still achieve the same goal. The only thing that matters for them is developing into a good enough athlete over the next 3 years to get a potential recruitment offer or admission based on their sports potential from a school like Stanford. Some important questions you want to answer during this time are: 1. Can I become elite enough in my sport to catch the eye of a college scout? And 2, will I be able to keep a top level performance in my sport for the entire duration of my high school career? Figuring these 2 things out at this point in your high school career will give you a massive leg up over the competition and place you in a phenomenal position to succeed later on in your journey. Now fast forward to the summer after your freshman year is over. You made your school's varsity team and are doing well. You have a solid trajectory and are likely to be in the top 10% in the country by the end of your sophomore year. So far, things are looking up as you head into your sophomore year. Now you're a sophomore. You're not quite a veteran at the school, but you know your way around and you're familiar with how the school works. You're friendly with some of the teachers at the school and some of the students at the school and have a much better idea of your place in this school environment. This year, however, things are getting even more serious. Things are going well for you, and you may believe you have a chance at landing a spot at one of the top schools in the country. Every once in a while you see a scout at your game talking to your coach, or they'll be in the stands taking notes and observing how you play. But now you know that they know who you are. Now with a school like Stanford, there's a minimum academic standard that students have to achieve to even considered as a prospective recruit. Even though that standard may be somewhat flexible depending on the skill of the athlete, some questions any student who's like this needs to consider are: 1. Can I maintain the academic standard required of me while still dedicating the necessary time to excel in my sport? 2. How likely am I to maintain a consistent level of health to get into and maintain myself at an elite level? And 3. How likely am I to be the top 1% of athletes for sports in my country? Answering these 3 questions will set a student up for maximum success when they truly start the college application process, which for an athletic academic might be very, very soon. Now here's where things get interesting. While most students have their entire junior year and the summer afterward to think about which schools they may want to attend, an an athletic academic may need to make that decision in the spring or summer of their sophomore year in preparation for the first wave of recruiting prospective recruits receive in the spring of their junior year of high school. This means that in the spring of their sophomore year or the summer afterward, these type of students should consider traveling to the many universities they may get offers from or hope to get offers from to get a good idea of where they may want to go in the future. And with this in mind, we enter junior year. Now, the junior year of an athletic academic's high school career is composed of a lot of waiting. This year usually goes one of two ways. Either A, they receive offers from a number of schools in the spring of their junior year and accept one of them. Or B, like every other type of student, they apply in the fall of their senior year and are notified in the spring of their senior year whether or not the school they'd like to go to accepts them or not. However, regardless of what does or does not happen during this time, nothing truly changes about what this type of student needs to do during this season of their high school career. Given that they're applying to a school with high standards and expectations like Stanford, they'll still need to take sufficiently rigorous coursework and perform well on the SAT. The only thing that truly changes is whether or not they have to write the common application essay and apply in the fall. In the case that they're one of the best recruits Stanford is looking for, the first round recruits, they will not. In the case that they are the second round recruits, they will. Now, let's talk about the process for a student who is a second round recruit. During this time, the spring of their junior year, this type of student should set themselves up early so they're in a good position to be off to the races when they start their applications in the fall. This entails asking for recommendations from the teachers they want early, usually in the spring of your junior year, touring the schools you're interested in that spring or summer before your senior year, and taking the SAT at least 2 times for the end of the summer after your junior year, and starting the process of writing the initial draft of your common application essays. With all this in place, we can fast forward to summer after your junior year where everything is taken into account. This summer is the most important summer for every single type of student, and this is no different for an athletic academic. Your goal for this summer is to finalize your application essays and, given the chance, do extensive research on the schools you're looking to apply to. By doing this, you'll be in a fantastic position to capitalize on the thing that'll be key for you getting into Stanford: early admission. As mentioned before, I can do an entire video speaking on this point in time in a student's application alone. But what matters is that you've completed as much as possible of your application to these various schools, or at least set yourself up to do so, before the autumn of your senior year. Now finally, we enter the autumn of your senior year of high school. Here's where we can go into the nitty-gritty details as it relates to a specific strategy when applying to Stanford as an athletic academic. Now it's finally the autumn of your senior year, the time when everything you did in the previous 3 years of high school comes into play. Before this point, everything you did was simply set up to help put you in the position to get into Stanford. Now let's talk about how you'll actually get in. The very first thing you'll want to do is apply early. Applying early is your best friend. I cannot stress this enough. Students who apply early, especially those who are among the top level applications to a given school, get a tremendous boost in terms of their odds of making it into the school they want. Let me explain how. Looking online, the accepted early application rate for Stanford hovers right around 9%. Now, do you know what the regular application rate is? Less than 2%. These two wildly differing numbers is why a student who's interested in going to Stanford or another Ivy League school needs to apply early to that school. They get a substantial increase in their odds of getting in because there's simply fewer people applying, and thus more of a chance to wow an admission officer and claim those critical yes spots early. The next thing all athletic academics should do if they want to be the 1 out of 11 athletic academics who apply to Stanford and get in is focus on showing what they value and look forward to doing at Stanford beyond the sport they're participating in. In other words, they have to demonstrate an intellectual curiosity and desire to learn and do something beyond the sport they are participating in. This is critical. Athletic academics are presented with the opportunity to have a clear role on campus they can fit into immediately. And if you've seen this video, you'll understand just how important that is for getting into any elite school. Stanford included. However, what cannot be conveyed through a person's role on a sports team is how they would fit into life beyond the sport. Now, this is where this strategy comes into play. What a student should communicate here are the things they are looking forward to accomplishing or experiencing beyond the sport they are playing. Beyond that, given Stanford's place as an academic and intellectual powerhouse, they should highlight what they're looking forward to learning or experiencing intellectually. By doing this, they establish the idea that Stanford isn't simply going to be the place where they play sports, but instead could be their new future home. By painting a picture that you belong at the Stanford University campus and will fit right into their community, it makes it much more likely that they'll do just that, include you in that community. The third and final thing an athletic academic should do to give themselves the best odds of getting to Stanford is highlight their desire to change the world and make it a better place for those around them. As I'm sure you've come to expect now, culture is critical and an often underlooked portion of a student's application to a given school. Stanford's culture is one of innovation, discovery, and achievement. Demonstrating the desire to change the world helps the students show, in no uncertain terms, that they fit right into the Stanford culture. For the athletic academic, they have ample opportunities to demonstrate how, through their interests, they could have an impact on the world at large. For example, if they're interested in STEM, they could highlight their STEM interests and demonstrate some ways in which they could change the world for the better that way. Or, if they're interested in humanities or social sciences, they could highlight the humanities and social science interests they have and explain how they could change the world for the better in that way instead. And finally, if they're predominantly focused on and interested in their sport, they could highlight how they could use this sport and the influence they have there to help make the world a better place. As Stanford prides itself on being the school people go to change the world, demonstrating the desire to change the world for the better will show them that you belong there. I could use an entire video breaking down this particular strategy even more, as there are a number of things an athletic academic could do to improve their application even further. If you'd like to see that, leave a comment below letting me know, and I'll be sure to make a video diving even deeper into this particular topic. But in broad terms, the 3 steps to getting into Stanford are as follows. Step 0. Set yourself up for success. This step is a step that gives you a fighting chance of even being considered in the first place by a university like Stanford, and getting your foot in the door, so to speak. For an athletic academic, this means taking and doing well in the classes of their choice and competing at a high level in their chosen sport. This step is the most important step and helps put a student in a good position for the following steps. Step 1. Apply early. This applies to all students who want to get in a particular school in the Ivy League. If you have a dream school in mind that you'd like to go to, make sure you apply early to that school. There are a number of benefits that come from applying early, but the main one is that your odds of getting into school like Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, etc. can increase 5, 6, or even 7-fold by simply applying early. Every student should capitalize on this advantage by putting themselves in a position to apply early with a stellar application. Step 2. Focus on your intellectual curiosity. Stanford, like all elite schools, is looking to first and foremost build a community of exceptional people at their university. What this means is that even though a student may be valuable to the university for their athletic ability and skill, if they do not fit into Stanford academic culture, they may not be picked at all. This is why it's important, especially for athletic academics, to highlight how they'll fit into the Stanford University campus beyond simply participating in their sport there. This will allow the university to have a much easier time seeing them as a part of the Stanford culture and accepting them as a result. Step 3. Highlight your desire to change the world. This last step is the cherry on top of an athletic academic college application. It's what takes a good application and makes it truly extraordinary. The reason for this is because, as mentioned before, culture is critical when applying to college, and most times a school's culture is overlooked when students apply to a given school. Thus, finding a student who very clearly fits into the culture will be a breath of fresh air for admissions officers and will give them the reassurance they need to put your application in the accepted pile. If you're an athletic academic, following those 3, 4 including step 0, will give you a substantial increase in your odds of getting into Stanford. While this video did go somewhat in depth into this topic, I recommend taking a look at some of the helpful links in the description box below, as it contains helpful material that goes much deeper into this topic than I could do so here. If you'd like me to make a video diving even deeper into these subjects and the strategies for this type of student, just leave a comment below letting me know and I'll be sure to make one. Now let's move on to what's next. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate all the likes, shares, subscriptions, support, everything. If you'd like to see another video or another school or a different student type in a different environment, just comment it down below and I'll be sure to do that. If you haven't seen the full video, just head to the first link in the description box below. It should be there, or wait 30 seconds till the end of this bit and you can click on the card to the full video or the card to the playlist that covers everything related to getting to Stanford for all the different student types. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video.